All right, Introduction to Computers. It's Thursday. We did Unit 3 in word processing. Didn't do too much with word processing today. I reminded the students to share the link in Google Docs. Don't share to my account. And then pretty simple things we talked about today. We covered a few specifics. We did a good review of this area right here. We talked about processors, registers, arithmetic logic unit. We talked a little bit about the bus, the word size. We reviewed the concept that if you're downloading software, you want to be aware of what if it's a 32-bit machine or a 64-bit machine, so you download the correct software. We talked about the importance of memory, clock speed in gigahertz, how many cycles the machine's running at, and then that idea of virtual memory, what it puts out on the hard drive. We also reviewed a little bit about power, and then how those all relate to performance. You should be able to tie that together. Okay? Then we talked about storage. We talked about how a hard disk, the actual disk spinning in the machine, stores things magnetically. You can have a hard disk inside the computer, or you can buy those external hard disks to connect in through a USB port. Some of them, the USB port can supply enough power to spin them. Other ones you have to actually plug in. We talked a little bit about solid state storage, and the big one would be flash. An example would be USB drives. There's flash drives you can plug in, and a lot of devices now, like tablets and so forth, have some type of solid state storage. They don't actually have spinning devices in there like a hard drive, and they can store information, and in some cases quite a bit. This iPad I'm using to record this has 32 gigabytes of, actually it's a combined memory storage combination. Optical storage, we store things on DVDs, we still get things on CDs, and we burn a spot right into the disk. That's why they call it burning a DVD. That sometimes could be more reliable than magnetic. Magnetic information can be changed, like you have a magnetic field near your hard drive. That could some problems, whereas here it's burnt right in, as long as you don't scratch or damage the physical damage DVD, the information should stay there. Store information out on the internet. We gave just 3 examples. There are many of them out there. I gave the example of Dropbox will give you some space for free, Google Drive, some space for free, iCloud through Apple, which you can put files and then retrieve them from another location. So it's in the cloud, so to speak. You know, what they use out there, probably lots of huge magnetic storage devices, or maybe a combination of different devices. There's this idea of mass storage, devices connected to networks that store huge amounts, things like what Google would use to keep track of everything out on the internet, or Amazon, all their products and so forth. All right, so then we went from storage to input devices. We talked about keying information in, keyboard. We mentioned the QWERTY keyboards that were designed in the early 1900s, so people would type at a certain speed, so typewriters wouldn't jam. And we still use those, but there is a Dvorak type keyboard that's used in the world in which people can type much faster. The keys are rearranged. The more common ones that you use would be right underneath your fingers. Pointing devices, we talked about the mouse, created in the 60s by Xerox, and then later on that information moved. The idea of using a mouse went to Apple, and then pretty soon Microsoft started using that same idea. Touchpad, screens, extremely popular now in all kinds of devices. And we're not going to go through the details of those. It's just there's a lot of use of that nowadays. Scanning devices, we take something we currently have and we scan it, create a digital mark for it. Like we could start off with pictures. You can scan a picture and it becomes a digital picture then.
and you can then transfer it, adjust it, change it, and so forth. Barcodes like the universal product code that's used to get to indicate what products they are. They're used all the time in retail nowadays, in stores, in order to check out, like at a grocery store and so forth. Optical character recognition, we mentioned that. Computers can look at text and figure out what it says, in some cases fairly accurately, and others not so accurately. Facial or eye recognition can be used to identify a certain person. Finger or handprints can be used. Lots of different ways scanning devices can look at something and digitize it, and then either use it to compare to another digitization of it, or to actually just store it, or manipulate it, or change it with software. All kinds of audio inputs. There's computers we can talk to and have them do certain commands. We can train them. There's different software out there that allows you to do that. Dragon Plus, I believe, is one. Plus, we have all kinds of ways of inputting audio into a computer digitally to do things like record music, record audio podcasts, and so forth. Lots of different software out there to do that. We mentioned in class GarageBand on the Apple side of things, and then there's a number of other ones that are, a lot of them that are free, that allows you to capture audio. Okay, so we have all kinds of ways of inputting information, getting information out. Typically, a couple major ways. We have displays, and a couple terms there that are important. Pixels, picture elements, the little dots that make up the screen. How many dots we're using is referred to as a resolution. And then how well your display looks could depend on the screen size and its graphics capabilities. Some displays are designed for specific graphics and so forth. Printers, laser printers, they might be a little more costly at the beginning, and the cartridges might cost a little more, but they may produce way more copies at a lot lower cost per copy. So in some cases, the front-end cost of a laser printer is really valuable. Inkjet printers typically will print color or black and white. They use ink cartridges, spray the paint on the paper. They do a very good job. The concern you'd have there, if you're printing lots of copies, the cartridges become expensive. You can also get color laser too. Okay, a little more money. Then plotters or special needs printers. You can get printers that will print on bigger pieces of paper, like if you had blueprints for a building and so forth. One other output device would be speakers. And there's really not a whole lot to say about those. Okay? So, this class today, Tuesday and next week, we will finish up word processing, have a skills-based test on word processing, and then we'll continue on the outline materials and get started with spreadsheets also. And that's it.